Early representations of the gift giver from church history and folklore, especially Saint Nicholas, merged with the English character Father Christmas to create the mythical character known to the rest of the English-speaking world as Santa Claus. In the English and later British colonies of North America, and later in the United States, British and Dutch versions of the gift giver merged further. For example, in Washington Irving's History of New York 1809, Sinterklaas was anglicized into Santa Claus, but lost his bishop's apparel, and was at first pictured as a thick-bellied Dutch sailor with a pipe in a green winter coat. Irving's book was a parody of the Dutch culture of New York, and much of this portrait is his joking invention. In 1821, the book A New Year's Present to the Little Ones from 5 to 12 was published in New York. It contained Old Santa Claus with Much Delight, an anonymous poem describing Santa Claus on a reindeer sleigh, bringing rewards to children. Some modern ideas of Santa Claus seemingly became canon after the anonymous publication of the poem A Visit from St. Nicholas in the Troy, New York, Sentinel on the 23rd of December 1823. Clement Clarke Moore later claimed authorship, though some scholars argue that Henry Livingston Jr. was the author. Saint Nick is described as being chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, with a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowlful of jelly, in spite of which the miniature sleigh and tiny reindeer still indicate that he is physically diminutive. The reindeer were also named Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Dunder and Blixen. Dunder and Blixen came from the Old Dutch words for thunder and lightning, which were later changed to the more German-sounding Donner and Blitzen. By 1845, Kris Kringle was a common variant of Santa in parts of the United States. A magazine article from 1853, describing American Christmas customs to British readers, refers to children hanging up their stockings on Christmas Eve for a fabulous personage, whose name varies. In Pennsylvania he is usually called Christkinkle, but in New York he is St. Nicholas, or Santa Claus. The author quotes Moore's poem in its entirety, saying that its descriptions apply to Christkinkle too. As the years passed, Santa Claus evolved into a large, heavy-set person. One of the first artists to define Santa Claus's modern image was Thomas Nast, an American cartoonist of the 19th century who immortalized Santa Claus with an illustration for the 3rd of January 1863 issue of Harper's Weekly in which Santa was dressed in an American flag, and had a puppet with the name, Jeff, written on it, reflecting its Civil War context. In this drawing, Santa is also in a sleigh pulled by reindeers. The story that Santa Claus lives at the North Pole may also have been a Nast creation. His Christmas image in the Harper's issue dated the 29th of December 1866 was a collage of engravings titled Santa Claus and His Works, which included the caption, Santa Clausville, N.P. A color collection of Nast's pictures, published in 1869, had a poem also titled, Santa Claus and His Works, by George P. Webster, who wrote that Santa Claus's home was near the North Pole, in the ice and snow. The tale had become well known by the 1870s. A boy from Colorado writing to the children's magazine The Nursery in late 1874 said, "If we did not live so very far from the North Pole, I should ask Santa Claus to bring me a donkey." In Russia, Ded Moroz emerged as a Santa Claus figure around the late 19th century where Christmas for the Eastern Orthodox Church is kept on the 7th of January. The 1956 popular song by George Mellecrino, Mrs. Santa Claus, and the 1963 children's book How Mrs. Santa Claus Saved Christmas, by Phyllis McGinley, helped standardize and establish the character and role of Mrs. Claus in the U.S. C. Barry Quinn's 1948 novel Roads draws from historical legends to tell the story of Santa and the origins of Christmas. Other modern additions to the story of Santa include Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the ninth and lead reindeer created in 1939 by Robert L. May, a Montgomery Ward copywriter, and immortalized in a 1949 song by Gene Autry. Santa Claus, also known as Father Christmas, Saint Nicholas, Saint Nick, Kris Kringle, or simply Santa, is a legendary figure originating in Western Christian culture who is said to bring children gifts during the late evening and overnight hours on Christmas Eve of toys and candy or coal or nothing, depending on whether they are naughty or nice. In the legend, he accomplishes this with the aid of Christmas elves, who make the toys in his workshop, often said to be at the North Pole, and flying reindeer who pull his sleigh through the air. The modern figure of Santa is based on folklore traditions surrounding Saint Nicholas, the English figure of Father Christmas, and the Dutch figure of Sinterklaas. Santa is generally depicted as a portly, jolly, white-bearded man, often with spectacles, wearing a red coat with white fur collar and cuffs, white fur-cuffed red trousers, red hat with white fur, and black leather belt and boots, carrying a bag full of gifts for children. He is commonly portrayed as laughing in a way that sounds like, ho ho ho. This image became popular in the United States and Canada in the 19th century due to the significant influence of the 1823 poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas. Caricaturist and political cartoonist Thomas Nast also played a role in the creation of Santa's image. This image has been maintained and reinforced through song, radio, television, children's books, family Christmas traditions, films, and advertising. The Guinness World Record for the largest gathering of Santa Clauses is held by Thrissur, Kerala, India, where on the 27th of December 2014, 18,112 Santas overtook the previous record. Derry City, Northern Ireland had held the record since the 9th of September 2007, when a total of 12,965 people dressed up as Santa or Santa's helpers. Prior to that, the record was 3,921, which was set during the Santa Dash event in Liverpool city centre in 2005. A gathering of Santas in 2009 in Bucharest, Romania attempted to top the world record, but failed with only 3,939 Santas. In the United States and Canada, children traditionally leave a glass of milk and a plate of cookies intended for Santa to consume. In Britain and Australia, sherry or beer, and mince pies are left instead. In Denmark, Norway and Sweden, it is common for children to leave him rice porridge with sugar and cinnamon instead. In Ireland it is popular to leave Guinness or milk, along with Christmas pudding or mince pies. In Hungary, Saint Nicolaus comes on the night of the 5th of December and the children get their gifts the next morning. They get sweets in a bag if they were good, and a golden-colored birch switch if not. On Christmas Eve, little Jesus comes and gives gifts for everyone. In Slovenia, Saint Nicholas also brings small gifts for good children on the eve of the 6th of December. Bozacek brings gifts on the eve of the 25th of December, and Dedek Mraz brings gifts in the evening of the 31st of December to be opened on New Year's Day. New Zealander, British, Australian, Irish, Canadian, and American children also leave a carrot for Santa's reindeer, and are told that if they are not good all year round that they will receive a lump of coal in their stockings, although the actual practice of giving coal is now considered archaic. Children following the Dutch custom for Sinterklaas will put out their shoe, leave hay and a carrot for his horse in a shoe before going to bed, sometimes weeks before the Sinterklaas event. The next morning they will find the hay and carrot replaced by a gift. Often, this is a marzipan figurine. Naughty children were once told that they would be left a bundle of sticks, instead of sweets, but this practice has been discontinued. After the children have fallen asleep, parents play the role of Santa Claus and leave their gifts under the Christmas tree. Tags on gifts for children are sometimes signed by their parents, from Santa Claus, before the gifts are laid beneath the tree. Santa is generally depicted as a portly, jolly, white-bearded man, often with spectacles, wearing a red coat with white fur collar and cuffs, white fur-cuffed red trousers, red hat with white fur, and black leather belt and boots, carrying a bag full of gifts for children. This image became popular in the United States and Canada in the 19th century due to the significant influence of the 1823 poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas. Caricaturist and political cartoonist Thomas Nast also played a role in the creation of Santa's image. Though most often portrayed as white, Santa is also depicted as black or of other races. His race or color is sometimes a subject of controversy. Santa Claus's home is traditionally said to include a residence and a workshop where he is said to create, often with the aid of elves or other supernatural beings, the gifts he is said to deliver to good children at Christmas. Some stories and legends include a village, inhabited by his helpers, surrounding his home and shop.